Hey guys, it's Matt here, coming at you with another Matt Rants video where funnily enough, I wanted to kind of go a bit more retro with this rant, maybe kind of calm things down. I feel like recently we've been talking about some very heavy game news, recent game news, but then I learned that there was going to be a Nintendo Direct today as of this recording, and sadly this video is coming out a little bit later than I would have liked, but still, it came out, and I thought, oh, I think this is what I should be ranting about today. So the other thing that I was going to be ranting about will be delayed. That'll be early next week. You'll see that video dropped. But here, I'm going to be talking about this Nintendo Direct. By the way, this is March 8th. 2018's Nintendo Direct. So we're going to go down the list of what was announced, what I'm hyped about, what I'm not hyped about, but I want to know specifically is what you guys are hyped about. So please talk to me in the comments, and heck, change my mind, right? If you think that I'm too hyped or less than hyped over something, please talk to me about the benefits or potentially even the cons. So do that in the comments below, but let's talk about right now what we have coming up later on this year, or even in 2019 or later, eventually, depending on looking at some of these that were announced. So, by the way, I've never actually seen a Nintendo Direct before other than the Animal Crossing one, the Pocket Camp one. So, because I did that Matt rant a while ago, so I saw that bit of it. There's probably more that I actually didn't check out because I didn't see it live on Twitch. Or whatever way Nintendo was showing it at the time. So watching this, I felt like I was getting bombarded with so much info that I was just typing out so much that I might have actually missed something. So if I missed anything, please tell me about it in the comments below. But right now, looking at 3DS stuff is the way I've written it. Before we get to the Nintendo Switch stuff, 3DS stuff. Actually, you know what? Even before I get to that, I want to mention one thing. I at first I was a little sad that they didn't mention Pokemon because they saved something for, something big for the end, because it seemed like they were about to finish up with Splatoon and then Splatoon 2, and then they ended up going, actually, wait, we have one more thing. And then when it was just the two girls from Splatoon playing, which, by the way, for any of you that are going, oh, he doesn't know their names. Yes, I do not have a Nintendo Switch. I have not played Splatoon. Which I know didn't start off on the Switch, I think. Started off on the Wii U. Don't know much about Splatoon. I admit that 100%, right? So come at me for that in the comments if you like. Love you guys. But what matters is that I saw the two of them playing, shooting each other. I was like, all right, this is, it's going to be a fun little way to end it, I guess. And then, because I didn't see how it would relate to Pokemon, but then once I saw that logo, oh, right in her eyes. Fire reflected in her eyes. I don't know if that's how it works, but oh god, it felt so good. Anyway, but back to 3DS stuff. So, yes, was I a little frustrated? No, Pokemon? Sure. I mean, we got Detective Pikachu, but in terms of actual, having Pokemon on the Switch, I think it's too early to announce something like that. Or at least if they announced it, then I don't think it would get to Kingdom Hearts 3 level of waiting, but I do think that if they just announced, hey, Pokemon's coming to the Switch eventually, in 2019, in 2020, we would then feel a little, gypped, I guess, by it. And some could say we're gypped by just having Smash, this little teaser, but I think this teaser was a lot bigger than anything Pokemon that they could have done. Especially when, to me anyway, it feels like Ultra Sun and Moon just came out. I know it didn't just come out, but it feels like it did. So we kind of needed to let that breathe a little bit on the 3DS before, in my opinion, before bringing it over to the Switch. Or anything like it over to the Switch. So, looking at 3DS stuff in my list, we had WarioWare Gold minigame collection. For some reason, I don't have a listing of when that was released. I don't think there was one put out. We have the WarioWare Gold, which is a minigame collection, which I guess from the way they're making it sound, they're making it seem like they're just porting all of the different minigames they've released over the years through, the Game Boy Advance version, the Wii, GameCube, a DS, of course. I think there was, I don't know if there was a WarioWare on the 3DS, guys, but I know that there was one on the DS as well. Twisted, I believe, was no, it wasn't Twisted. It was, oh god, my brain's hurting right now. But the point is that it's apparently the biggest minigame collection ever, which, before I played WarioWare, I played it on the channel with Courtney, for those guys play Season 3. Before I played it, I thought that it really wasn't that interesting. I gotta be honest with you guys. But when I actually started playing it, I really started falling in love with the game. Even actually busted out. I found some old Game Boy Advance games that I haven't touched in a while, and actually found, I think it was Game and Watch Gallery 4. And I was playing a few of the mini games in there, and I was like, wow, like I've apparently realized I'm a really big fan of mini games when they're their own thing and not when they're just just mini games. Like I don't like when it's a game and then there's like a little tiny mini game in it, and then I have to go think, I have to do this to get to the next thing. Unless of course we're destroying cars, in which case that's cool. But other than that, I feel weird about mini games. But when it's an entire game based on mini games, for some odd reason, I fall in love with it. So would I be picking up WarioWare Gold for 3DS? I really don't know, because I don't own every single WarioWare title, so I guess it would be fun, but I also feel like it should be a budget title despite it having all of that included. I don't know how I would feel about paying full price for a port. Even if the graphics are changed or, upscaled in some way or another. If there's nothing new about it, I don't know how to feel about it being ported. What I do want to mention, though, is for WarioWare, actually, yeah, I think it was Twisted on the Game Boy Advance that had the gyrosphere effect in it, the gyrosphere. The point is that if you guys don't know, there was a Game Boy Advance WarioWare game that you couldn't repro it. And if you try to get it online, I think some people have tried to make some patches for it, but still, many of the games involve, or a certain amount of the games involve you actually turning your Game Boy Advance or Game Boy Advance SP. Don't know how that would work if you had yourself a GameCube Game Boy player. But the point is that you actually have to turn it, because there's like a little gyrosphere in the actual game itself that kind of picks up on the movement. I don't know what it does specifically. I think I've seen Courtney play it once in person, but other than that, I don't know how they may have. I mean, I guess maybe they corrected it the same way other people did when patching it online, but that would be a very interesting thing to see, on the 3DS. So that would be one reason why I want to pick it up. Other than that, I'm happy to see WarioWare Love in particular, but it's not really a big thing that really kind of popped out to me. However, Dylan's Dead Heat, something. I put something in there because clearly, oh man, I should have looked over these notes. Clearly, I missed that last part because, again, if you guys noticed, maybe it was just me. It felt like Nintendo was throwing everything at us. Like, this was a very big Nintendo Direct. Apparently, there's a demo that's coming out May 10th, and on May 24th, it'll actually be released. So Dylan's Dead Heat something, the way I wrote it, that is funny. I get the name wrong, but it's actually, I think, one of the most interesting things on this list, personally. And I know that might sound crazy when you look at some of the other stuff on the list as well, but I think the reason why it really sticks out to me is because, in a way, it seems so retro, yet while still being so new. And from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like there was an earlier version of it. It seems like it's the first one in its continuity, although I'm going to check that out right now. Yeah, so the name of the game is Dylan Dead Heat's Breakers. For some odd reason, Breakers was the name that was a part of it that was missing. And it is a sequel to a game that was already released on the 3DS in 2013. Not sure if it was released physically. So for any of you guys out there that are seemingly this game interests you, I would suggest downloading it sooner rather than later, because obviously we are near the end of the 3DS's life cycle. And if the game is available physically, then cool. Just go with that, right? Personally, I'm a bigger fan of physical rather than digital, but I mean, if digital is the only option, I guess we wonder where I'm going, right? So, because this game definitely looks like a lot of fun. It looks, I don't know, there's something about it just looks so new and yet so retro at the same time. It seems like something that I would see on the N64. Funnily enough, late in the N64's life cycle, and it looks like it's not just because Ranger is in the title, but it looks like a hoot. So I definitely would want to check it out. My wallet might disagree, but I think I would like to check it out sometime in the near future, at least the first one. Something that I was very interested in, I didn't realize that this would be a thing at all. Apparently, moving on, we have Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey, which is being released sometime in 2019. Which I think is nice to know that apparently for the 3DS, we're still getting, from looks of it, we're still getting some kind of support for it, at least in the 2019. I would imagine in the 2020, but at least in 2019, that's nice. I feel like I've definitely not delved into the 3DS library as much as I should. So it's good to know that, if I wanted to get this digitally, which I don't know why I would, but again, if I wanted to get it digitally or even just purchase it physically, it doesn't seem like Nintendo is purging any of its stores or any stores that it works with, big, chain retail stores, of their 3DS games. So this apparently, so I think I have Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story for the DS. I think I do. I know I have I have the first one, of course, right, Superstar Saga, which I don't have a box for. I'm currently trying to get that online, but I do have the manual and I have the game, and I fell in love with that game when I was a teenager. And although I think it came out when I was actually before I was a teen, but still, I fell in love with the game so much back in the day. And I didn't really play I think it was Partners in Time too much, but I played enough of it. I do have it, and I don't think I have Bowser's Inside Story. Also, apparently, it's adding Bowser's Jr.'s Journey. So I think in that regard, that's a very interesting port. I would really love to get that because of the fact that, when you're adding in new content, you're not just making it a simple port for me. So that right there seems cool. I don't know how much added content it might seem. We just saw some of the cinematics through Nintendo Direct, so nothing really too crazy about it. Nothing really too big about it that makes me really think, well, I have to buy it now. But it was definitely a very interesting addition that I definitely did not expect. There's a lot on this list that I did not expect, but that in particular, I was really thrown off by, but I'm okay with it. Right now, one thing I want to move on to, something that I was not necessarily confused about, although half of it I was, half of it I'm not. We have Detective Pikachu coming out March 23rd, and not just that, we have a Detective Pikachu amiibo. Now, I know amiibos are very popular. I mean, I think saying very popular is a big, rather large understatement. We all know the amiibo craze that continuously goes on, but I felt like the amiibo craze has kind of been dying down. People have the amiibos they like. Felt like amiibos, it wasn't, again, maybe some amiibos people really do pay top dollar for still, but I felt that people were kind of dying down on amiibos. And also, I felt like we were kind of, as much as I still want Super Mario cereal to taste it, it felt like we kind of jumped a certain shark once we started making boxes of cereal amiibos. Cool stuff, actually, but it kind of felt like we were there. We were like, oh wow, like we've hit a very interesting plateau once, basically are saying, hey, this box can be an amiibo. So when we got to that point, I was like, I'm sure obviously more amiibos are coming out, but I don't know, I just, because I don't have a Wii U or a Nintendo Switch, I never got caught up in amiibo fever. So seeing that we're going to have a Detective Pikachu amiibo along with the Detective Pikachu game being released, I assume maybe in a bundle on the same day, as well as just being released on the same day. That's cool, but I didn't expect it. Speaking of Detective Pikachu, it's a little sad I love Ryan Reynolds. I love that he's going to be Detective Pikachu in the movie. Apparently, he's going to be Detective Pikachu in the movie. But when you hear the voice of Detective Pikachu in English, there seems to be some kind of disconnect. I really wish that in some way or another we would have gotten Danny DeVito in the movie, or at least maybe getting Ryan Reynolds to voice over the character in a later edition of the game, maybe in a different port of the game, maybe a Switch port of the game or something like that. Overall, nothing. I don't think there's anything about the. Obviously, it was really funny having Detective Pikachu, fail to do Quick Attack. But other than that, I don't think there's anything really shown trailer-wise that makes me think, oh wow, we have a better understanding of the game. Although, I will admit though, I don't think I was aware that different. Or at least seeing Charizard, the way he kind of reacted, how, maybe there's a bigger thing at play, because I think before seeing Charizard in this trailer, I knew that, there were issues with Pokemon in the area. That's why they were looking at Detective Pikachu to kind of bring him in and kind of, help, see what's going on with the case. But I don't think we've actually seen footage of Pokemon going off or going nuts the way that clearly it looks like the Charizard was possessed or something like that. So, it's funny because, are we going to get into a cult? Are we going to get into some kind of weird satanic cult? It sounds silly because it's Nintendo, but I don't know where this is going to take us. Like, is it going to be like I mean, I guess arguably it would, the calmest area to take it would be a corporation or something like that. CEO trying to control Pokemon. Team Rocket or some kind of Team Rocket equivalent is always up for grabs. But I'm shooting for Cult. Maybe Cult would be nice. Something different, for the kids. So now we move on to something that I think a lot of people felt very underwhelmed by. A little bit me too, but not. Once I actually heard the way Nintendo was describing it, I wasn't as underwhelmed as I originally thought I was. I was slightly, my whelmed meter went up a little bit. But I know I've seen some people online, like Dreamcast Guy, really cool YouTuber, by the way. I don't know him personally, but seen some of his videos. Really fun YouTuber. Check out his channel as well if you're checking out mine. He was kind of saying like, hey, if you're gonna release this for the 3DS, why aren't you gonna release this for the Switch, right? Which I get, right? But the thing is it doesn't seem like this is just going to be some port. It seems like they're actually remaking it, not from the ground up, but remaking it in a way that I enjoy, I guess, where the idea is, hey, let's, up the graphics, or let's change the graphics up a little bit. Obviously, you're going to have to change the controller scheme because, GameCube controller versus 3DS, handheld. But it looks like they're going to be utilizing the fact that, yes, there is a second screen on the bottom. As well as the fact that, there might be, I mean, I would like it if there's some new content. We don't know yet. We got very little in terms of, in terms of what we saw cinematics wise. It didn't seem like there was anything new, but, we don't know yet. It said that it was be available this year, so that could mean anything. Again, they might not have changed too much or added too many things to it, but I would like to see what they may have done. To be fair, we have played, myself and Tristan Walter have played the original Luigi's Mansion. We beat Luigi's Mansion on this channel. And of course, if you're watching this through, Those Guys Play, we've beaten it on Those Guys Play. And if, and we also, for Halloween just last year, we tried out Dark Moon, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. I wasn't necessarily impressed, but I mean, as long as they didn't add anything too crazy, maybe didn't dumb anything down any more than I think Dark Moon did. And I know Dark Moon was, for new kids, I mean, kids trying to play the game that have never played the original. I totally get it. I'm not trying to sit here and shake my fist at the sky, being all angry old man at Cloud. But the thing is just that, I might not purchase this, but I don't really think it needed to have a place on the Switch, maybe even just yet. If in my opinion, if you're going to release something on the Switch, Luigi's Mansion related, I would rather a new game rather than a port. And I think people would potentially start to get a little, upset if they ended up seeing a port of a game on a new console rather than on a console that's kind of nearing the end of its life cycle. Also, it kind of ties the console in together. I mean, bringing in Dark Moon, sure, it was a second game in the franchise or the series, but because of how, because I think it kind of deviated from some stuff that maybe we weren't fans of, but if you got used to it, and I hear, once you get used to the controls, it's a lot better, or, you just kind of go with the flow a bit more, and that kind of helps your playthrough of it. And of course, getting past all those, early tutorials that are like, hey, are trying to really hold your hand through it. Because there aren't that many in Luigi's Mansion, once you get used to the controls, maybe you can kind of just delve into it more and not just for nostalgia purposes, but also have a new experience with it when it comes to the 3DS. So it is kind of nice to have both available on the 3DS instead of having, one available on one system, one on the other, especially with how long the 3DS's lifespan has been. Now, would I want, Luigi's Mansion collection on the Switch? I don't even have a Switch, and I want one on the Switch, right? I want one for the people who have Switches, giving me reasons to buy a Switch. Again, my wallet is crying in the corner, saying, "Why do you do this to me?" It's stuttering as well, because of how scared it is every time I just go in there for money. But still, yeah, I would really love it if it was on the Switch. Don't get me wrong, I would love it for you guys as well. But I don't know if it's the time for it on the Switch just yet. Maybe, when they make a new one for the Switch, that's when we can kind of get the ports for the Switch. But that's just me, personally. Now, moving on from that, moving on to talking about the Switch and all these different releases, because Nintendo had a lot of things to talk about for the Switch, because why wouldn't they, right? So moving on to the Switch, we had Kirby Star Allies, where apparently you can actually make dream friends in old enemies, and something super, maybe super duper happy. Not only were they talking about having, King Dedede and Meta Knight to be able to join you, that's cool in itself. But making the note, and man, do I applaud Nintendo for this. I mean, I know it's very easy to say what I'm about to say, or to do what Nintendo does when they've sold this many Switches. But I have to say, it makes me so happy when they say, hey, and guess what? Here's some free updates. Essentially free DLC, and being able to play as Rick, Ku, Marks, Gooey, and Kine. I sit there and I'm just like, wow, thanks guys. Like, I don't even have a Switch. I don't even, have this game. And I won't yet. No one should have this game because the free demo is available March 16th. And apparently the free updates are available March 28th. So then wait, I'm sorry. I don't know when the free demo is available. I think the game itself is available March 16th. But the point is that I'm really excited, right, about the fact that, you guys can just get free DLC, right? Because, I mean, look, I get it, I get it, right? I mean, personally, while I'm not a big fan of loot boxes at all, in any way, shape, or form, really. I know, in some cases they're for attire. That's okay, but I'm still not a big fan of loot boxes. But when it comes to DLC, I think we become so accustomed to it that we're like, yeah, of course DLC should be worth, $5. Why shouldn't it be? And we're going to have to, snap our fingers and be like, no, we could get it for free, right? If a game is selling well, or if a system is selling well, and it's a first-party game, and they're just raking in the cash, they could, give out some DLC for free, right? This isn't like a loss leader kind of situation where it's just like, oh no, is Nintendo, throwing out this free DLC? How are, little tiny Microsoft and Sony going to compete? Like, no, they're all huge companies. I mean, they're so huge that, talk about being a loss leader. PS3 and PS4, they weren't making money. Sony was losing billions of dollars when the first few came out. So, having first million or so, forgot how many million until they were actually able to make a profit. Once the parts to make a PS3, once those were cheaper, that's when Sony started to make their profits through it. So the reason why I mention this though is because, again, it's just we forget, right, you could get free updates, right? Just like with the recent one with Super Mario Odyssey. It's just when you're making that much money, you don't need to get people. You could, right? But it looks more. It's a bit more goodwill, right? To your customers, to your fan base, if you're able to give them what would have been a $5 DLC or $5 update, whatever you want to refer to it as, giving them that for free instead of making $5 million. Of course, you would think corporations, companies would be like, but we just lost $5 million, but you may have just gained a bunch of people that. Again, doing free DLC makes me sit back and go, should I buy a Switch? Should I buy this game? That sounds awesome. And it's just crazy. Now, even if I got a Switch third hand or second hand, I could still buy the games, and just being a part of that community and, going online makes Nintendo understand, good, this is how we build up people, build up goodwill. Because goodwill, money matters, but goodwill matters too. Because you can have all the money in the world and then the next year rake in no profits because everyone hates you. So moving on to, because, looking at some of the gameplay, it looks fun. It just seems, I would hope that there could be 2-player, 3-player, 4-player functionality, having some other people kind of join in. It looks very much like, what was it, Zelda Four Swords? Very much like that, a game kind of like that. But, although not top down, obviously, side-scrolling, but still. And it's funny. Kirby is always a very interesting way for them to kind of throw out other concepts, I feel. I know Nintendo's always changing up and experimenting and stuff like that, but it really feels like Kirby is the game where, and tell me if you guys disagree, or tell me what other, franchises you think do this too, Nintendo ones, but I feel like Kirby's always the one where they're just like, you know what? Let's do this weird thing. and it's a fun weird thing, but it's always also group based usually. Certain ones aren't, of course, but I always really enjoy how they don't just rely on Kirby; they rely on Kirby and his friends, and throughout that, you've really been able to have. You have something like Kirby Star Allies work and not seem like it's a kind of bad crossover or something trying to just cash in on Kirby. It just feels normal, like, yeah, Kirby with all of his friends, right? Like, why wouldn't he have all these friends? He's been traveling with these people for years, or fighting against some of them. Very much Dragon Ball Z. Kirby's really the Goku in the situation. So moving on to this one is another port. However, this is an HD re-release, or rather HD remaster of Okami, which, yes, it was released on the PS2. Yes, it was also released on the PS4. Does that mean I'm buying it for the Switch? Even if I had one, I probably wouldn't be buying it for the Switch. It is, however, for those who do want it, it is available this summer. Again, I don't think there was any Okami DLC, because of course it came out on the PS2, so I don't really know why people would want to buy this game unless, of course, I mean, the obvious, idea is the Switch is portable. So now you have portable Okami, which to some people, I gotta admit, yeah, it kind of blows my mind too, to be fair. Because there was no PSP, or I don't even think there was a PS Vita port for Okami. So, getting portable Okami, that's a lot of fun. Right? So if you want portable Okami, good stuff. I don't think it'll look any better I don't know if it'll look any worse, but I don't think it'll look any better than the other HD remasters that came out, because I'm pretty sure there were ones for the either PS3 or PS4, a few years ago, I believe. So for me personally, it's available this summer. If you guys want it, totally get it. Not really my cup of tea. I'm sure there's some people out there that are going to beat me up with, calligraphy, just materials. I don't know, just wrap me up in paper and just start hitting me with a brush. But it's nothing against Okami. It's just the idea that, if you're going to have a port of a game, there better be something either new or different about it. Yeah, I believe it's the first time Okami is, I don't even know if it's the first time Okami is going to be on a Nintendo console, because something in my brain tells me that Okami was on the Wii, although my brain might just be swapping color palettes for Twilight Princess. So, yeah, do I think Okami is cool in HD? Yes. Do I think it's cool on the Switch? Also, yes. Is it going to be something that I'd want to, triple dip for after getting it on, because I believe I have it for the PS2, and I don't have it for the PS4, but assuming I am the consumer that would have gotten it for the PS4, because I would be, that would be me, then I don't know if I'd want to triple dip. But if you guys do, or if you guys have never, experienced Okami, but probably if you've never experienced Okami, because I don't know how high the prices are for Okami for the PS2 or for the PS4. It is a very popular game. There are a lot of people that are fans of it. I'm not saying it should be high. I just don't know how high it is. But if there's some reason or another, due to maybe high prices or something like that you've never or you don't have a PS2, and you've never experienced, if you've never experienced Okami, you should, and you have a Switch, you should definitely get it. Definitely get it. I would seriously recommend getting Okami. But if you've gotten it already 2-3 times, I don't know. So that's your call. Sushi Striker, The Way of Sushido, we're getting very, very Japanese these last two. They saved the most Japanese for last. Before jumping over to that interesting Square Enix talk about Octopath Traveler. Before we get to Octopath Traveler, just Sushi Striker, The Way of Sushido. It is available on June 8th via the Switch and the 3DS. So, because it's also available on the 3DS, in my opinion, maybe I feel like they, I don't say held back, but, I think it'll look okay on the Switch. I think it's maybe made more for either you or your kid. If you have a Switch, just kind of, put it on, have it be mobile. Just kind of take it on the go, in the car, on the train, or something like that. Am I interested in it? Funnily enough, I actually am. It looks really fun. It looks kind of cool. I know there are probably some people out there that don't care. I think it looks a lot like some kind of, bad mobile game. But for me, I don't know. For some odd reason, even though I'm only 25, I feel like I'm in the later years of my life. No, but for some reason, I do feel like recently I've fallen in love with minigame-based games. So because the entire game seems like some kind of minigame, it seems like a lot of fun. I don't know how much I would pay for it, though. I got to be honest with you guys, though. So, if it is $30, I would pass. But if it's, $20 around that range, I would imagine it's digital only, but I actually can't tell you guys that off the top of my head. So if it's digital only and it's $20 or less, I would buy it. You know, if it's $30 or more and I'm paying that extra $10 or more due to it being like a physical cost tax, and then because of that, they then have to make these, you know, brick and mortar stores happy or Amazon happy and keep it around the same price digitally, it's definitely a game that I would pass on. But it just looks like a lot of fun. It just, I don't know, just something about it seems so simple yet so fun, and it can end up being addictive because of it. But I do think that the price point would really kind of, you know, be the downfall for me personally. But again, it just looks, you know, it just looks simple. That's the thing. It just looks simple and fun, and it seems nice. So, moving on though to Octopath Traveler. They had this interesting Square Enix segment where they were talking about Octopath Traveler. It's coming out July 13th. Free demo is available right now, and also there will be a special edition with a bunch of cool stuff like a coin, a map, and stuff like that, I think a rather large art book. So is it something that I would want to get? You know, I really don't know, because I think I need to look into Octopath Traveler more, because I saw a bunch of people, including Dreamcast guy, really interested in Octopath Traveler, and it looks like a cool game. But even though I mentioned earlier, I was saying how, let me scroll up here, looking at Dylan's Dead Heat, looking at that game and thinking it still says something there, and I still can't remember the last part of it, and I'm actually kind of sad. Dead Heat Ranger Cowboys. How that kind of brought me back to N64. Something about Octopath Traveler makes me feel like it's an indie project, which, by the way, I'm not saying anything bad about indie projects. Like, I'm not trying to put down something made in RPG Maker, right? Because I think there's some really interesting games made in RPG Maker, so I would never want to put those down. Or even something in the, like, brings me back to looking at the graphics for Octopath Traveler and looking at the, you know, the fighting mechanics. It reminds me of something like a Sega Genesis mixed in with very early PS1. So nothing about it makes me hate it. I don't hate it at all. I just don't understand the hype. So please, again, if you're really hyped about it below, tell me, right? Just tell me how hyped you are. I want to know why I should be hyped about this game. And I'm going to look up some trailers after this rant, because I want to know, why should I be hyped? Because to me personally, I know it's being made by Square Enix. I know it harkens back to the past. It makes us, you know, think retro. But I expect, unless it's releasing games that have never come out, which as far as I know, it seems like Octopath Traveler is a new game. But when it comes to games that have never come out, then in my opinion, yes, like, we should definitely have Square Enix and other companies bring out older versions of other games, like bring out Dragon Quests that have never came out here. Heck, translate them differently, right? If they had an original butchered, localized to hell translation, change that up, right? Now that you can, you know, report it onto Steam or onto other consoles, right? You can do that, right? But to me personally, when I see a game that looks like this and seeing how it plays, it makes me think of an indie title that I would say, wow, bravo, it's amazing that you make that, you know, that you made that, either all by yourself or with a very small team. But looking at it and seeing that it's being made by Square Enix, you know, it just feels like, not that they can do more, because I'm not saying that every game has to be Final Fantasy 14 or 15 or anything like that. It just doesn't strike me as something that I should be wowed by. But again, I'm probably wrong, right? I've only seen it through this Nintendo Direct, so I'm really catching the end of a hype train that maybe I should have been, you know, saying choo-choo the second it came into the station, and I'm wrong for not getting on, for not knowing about it, so I didn't even know to get on immediately. Moving on, though, we have Travis Strikes Again, which sadly I was unable to see when it's being released, but I do know that it's coming out, and oh boy, I'm excited. So I actually haven't played much of No More Heroes, but I have seen people that have. Like, I know that Tristan Walter loves it, Anthony Toto loves it, they have the games, I've seen them play the game, I've played very, very, very little bits of it, but it's something that I want to play more of. I want to play more of on the channel. I feel wary saying that out loud, only because I say I want to play it more on the channel, and I feel like even though they're far away from me in Long Island, I'm in Queens right now. They're in Long Island. I can just feel Anthony Toto and Tristan Walters' ears perking up. Like, did Matt just say he wants to play No More Heroes on those guys' play? So I feel like now I've just kind of here's how it's. I think for some of you Evil Dead fans, I feel like I just read out of the Necronomicon. That's kind of what's. So you're just gonna see, the camera is panning from Long Island to Queens right now, and they're just gonna bust out my door, telling me to play No More Heroes with them on those guys' play, which I wouldn't be opposed to. It's just they're very enthusiastic about the game, and why wouldn't they be? This looks amazing. I can't wait to play it myself. I don't know how. Again, I don't have a Switch. I'm gonna have to steal it from someone. And it's funny, no one actually Joey, who's played those guys. He's played those guys play. He's been on those guys play season 3 with us. He played Super Mario World with us. He has a Switch, so I might have to beat him up and steal it from him, or just sing Rent. Just something from Rent, and he will actually get so distracted that I can steal a Nintendo Switch from him. It's true. It can happen. He's that much of a fanatic about Rent. That's just what he likes. But I like musicals too, just not so much into Rent as much as he lives, breathes, eats, I guess. He just subsists off of Rent posters. Love you, Joey. He doesn't listen to these, so I can just say this about him. Love you, Joey. He'll listen to this one, and I'll be really upset. Sorry, Joey, love you. Moving on, though, as much as I want to play Travis Strikes Again, one thing I want to mention is apparently there's going to be a Dark Souls remaster, which remastered version coming to the Switch. So if you weren't angry before, now you can be angry on the Switch, I guess. Shake that, it's kind of now the Switch has become the portable screen has become a shake weight. So you're going to be shaking it just, I'm so angry. So yeah, if you want to be angry with your Switch, you can do that. Don't throw it across the room. I remember being a kid, and I don't think I threw my Game Boy, although, oh my god, I might have. I remember throwing the game, though, like a Pokemon game, like Red or Blue, across to a couch, not to a wall or into a TV. But I've gotten mad before. So I think my main point is that please don't break any part of your Switch due to Dark Souls. Please don't do it. I'm sure some of you say that it's worth it, and I'm not saying that Dark Souls is not worth the money to pay for it, but I don't think it's worth the money to break your Switch and have to get a new Switch. So please don't break your Switch over it. And this, by the way, this I'm in love with. There's going to be a network test coming soon to quote unquote test the game. Why do I like that? Well, it appears later on during this Nintendo Direct as well, this idea of, you know what, let's quote-unquote give it to them for free, in a sense, just for a little bit, right? Just to kind of, yes, it's good to test the networks, of course. You don't want to have, your networks fail on day one, so that's understandable as well. But the reason why that really interests me is because of the idea that you can give people the game for free because, heck, this is a remaster. People, they've already gotten their money through selling the, Dark Souls already. Like, Dark Souls is not a new game. This isn't like a hit, like whoa, what? Nintendo Switch getting Dark Souls? I've never heard of that, game. Like, everyone's heard of Dark Souls. So many people have played Dark Souls. You don't need to, you can have a network test, right, to kind of test the game. And speaking of amiibos earlier, right, jumping on the amiibo craze, Solera Vestora apparently getting an amiibo, so we're getting a Solera amiibo. So that'll be available alongside the game May 25th. So definitely check that out if you want to get angry with your Switch. If you really do, this is your way to do it, right? You can get angry other ways. Maybe with Super Smash Bros. Eventually. I don't know what year it's coming out, but you can probably just get mad right now with I think it was 2019 with Super Smash Bros. But still, you can get mad right now with Dark Souls. So moving on to there was like a brief talk about Nintendo Nintendo Gold coins that you've been accumulating through playing the Switch. Those can be redeemed for money. That's cool. Apparently, though, people are a little frustrated that it's not enough money, or it's not as much money as they would like. Obviously, Nintendo needs to make some money too. Obviously, there's some people out there that have played so much of the Switch that they're like, come on, guys, I would like a little bit more bang for my buck. I remember Pat and Ian talked about this on the CU podcast. You can go check that out on their channel. I'll probably link it below as well, because they were talking about it, and Very interesting stuff. I heard about that before this Nintendo Direct, but again, good way for the Nintendo Direct to address something like this for those that might not be following other forms of Nintendo news. So here it's apparently they listed it was like $3 for 300 coins. I don't know if that was right. I thought my brain tells me that can't be right. That had to be some example, because it has to be something larger than that, because I don't know how hard it is to get these coins. Maybe if it's that hard, then to some people they're going, what? It's only $3. But for any other virtual currency that I've ever got, experienced in any video game at all, or trying to accumulate certain currency, it feels like 300 coins for $3 is very small. So maybe it's 3,000, and I missed the zero there. But 300 coins for $3, it doesn't sound pretty bad, actually. But anyway, moving on to something that, okay, so here's a funny thing. So I was speaking of Dreamcast Guy that I've been talking about. Most of the stuff that I'm saying that he said was through tweets, not necessarily through videos. If it was through a video, I'll link it below. But most of the stuff that he's been saying in this rant that I've been, talking about, is through tweets. Another person, John Riggs, who another great YouTube channel. I'll post him in the comments below, or rather in the description box below if you're watching this on YouTube. He was basically saying about Mario Tennis Aces. He was saying, who was asking for another Mario Tennis, essentially, right, in tweet form. And I responded, hello, just literally like the Doctor GIF, 10th Doctor GIF from Doctor Who going, hello. Because, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mario Tennis on the N64. I loved Mario Tennis a lot. And it's sad because I never owned Mario Tennis, but I think I rented it from Blockbuster, maybe. Really should have convinced my mom to never bring it back, despite the late fees. Because we had to bring it back, but I loved Mario Tennis so much. It was such a fun game. And so to have it come out on the Switch, despite the fact that I can't play it, I'm just really going to be happy that, you guys and any new, younger Nintendo fans will be able to play Mario Tennis Aces. I wasn't a big fan, however, of some of the new gameplay mechanics. Although I have to admit, for some of you Prince of Tennis fans, typical Tuesday, right? I think some of you Prince of Tennis fans were a little bit underwhelmed by the new gaming mechanics. Like, what? No. And none of you guys ended up destroying the dinosaurs via tennis? Well, this is dumb. But I have to say that as someone who prefers, I guess, just something a bit more simple, I was a little, frustrated. I think just looking at that, I was like, well, I mean, if I had a Switch, I don't know if I'd buy the game based on all those new gameplay mechanics that seemed really hard to follow along. And I know maybe some people would say, oh, but it helps prep you for tennis, but it's not like you're playing the Wii, right, where you kind of have the Wiimote. I know Joy-Cons exist, but it's not necessarily like the Wiimote with a sensor bar. So it feels odd, I think, having all these very intricate gameplay mechanics. But then they announced, for people like me who are extremely lame, they said that there are simple rules. So I would definitely be going for those. So simple rules do exist. Also, by the way, they didn't call it power matching, but they basically said that you're going to be power matched when you're online. Now, power matching, or power pairing, basically, coming from a speech and debate background, it's a debate term that basically, and I think other sports use it as well, but it's a debate term that, and for some of you guys across the nation listening in, you might be thinking like, debate, like speech and debate. What do you like? National Forensics League, right? The NFL, if you will. But yeah, so debate. Basically, it's the idea that depending on how well you do, you end up getting matched with that person as well. So what that means is that, look, it's always good to kind of get put up against someone who's so good that you're like, oh, I have to get better. To some people, that's good motivation. But what ends up happening is, for some people, when you're playing a game that you're brand new at, if you just keep on losing over and over and over again to the same person, right, or the same group of people that have just been playing the game for a while, or they're just generally good at Mario Tennis, or in any other game, what ends up happening is one of two things. Either you get frustrated, you quit, and then again, you're taking away that goodwill from the company, right? Or you have shitty microtransactions, shitty loot boxes to try to make people, want to purchase those to get better at the game. And if people don't want to purchase those, or heck, even if people do want to purchase those, you still lose goodwill. So either way, either you don't have loot boxes or you do have loot boxes, and you lose that goodwill. So in my opinion, Nintendo doing a very good job here of having these kind of power pairings, power matched, so that if someone is new to the game, if someone's not doing that well, they can be paired up with someone else who is new and not doing that well either. So huge fan of that. Love that. Thank you, Nintendo. And also, by the way, you can apparently play as Chain Chomp, which I love that Nintendo didn't reference it. The person doing the either narration Japanese or English over it didn't address it. Oh god, I'm loving it. Just Chain Chomp exists. Just follow your dreams, kids. One day you can play tennis. If Chain Chomp can do it, so can you. Also, there'll be a pre-launch online tournament, like I mentioned earlier. Super cool. Loving it, right? The idea that you can have, because it's a free online tournament, by the way, because again, it's pre-launch. So it's basically saying, hey kids, hey anyone, right? Here's a tournament for you guys to get used to the game, to play the game, have fun. Here it is for free. It's giving you a free demo, but adding that level of competition to it. And for those that want that competition, they're just going to revel in it. They're going to, in my opinion, really kind of gravitate towards the game. And it's a great, it's a great, I hate to use the word publicity stunt because it feels like I'm saying it negatively, but it's a great thing for Nintendo to do to try to, build up hype for this game because, maybe there are some people that are, again, like John Riggs, who aren't a big fan of Mario Tennis, or really aren't a big fan of a new version of Mario Tennis, but you can participate in an online tournament, maybe get it for free is the bigger thing. Maybe it becomes fun, right? Or maybe it doesn't, Again, if you're not into it, you're not into it, and that's cool. I definitely wouldn't be into it if it only had the new gameplay mechanics. I'll say that much. Anyway, so let's move on to Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. So this doesn't seem to be a brand new game. However, they will be adding some new maps, which is awesome. They will be adding Super Mario Odyssey levels, which is really cool. And apparently, I think there were talks as well of Captain Toad appearing in Super Mario Odyssey, or I think he may have already done that, which if so, awesome as well. And I think it's really cool to, even though it's just another, to some people it's just another port, if you will. Still, I believe Treasure Tracker was for the Wii U, and a lot of people didn't get that Wii U. So instead of just leaving the console in the dust with the game in the dust, it's nice to be able to give people who have actually purchased this console, right? They purchased the new console to give them some games that they may have missed, right? If you don't want to double dip, then don't double dip. Right, so I think it's really cool that there's Super Mario Odyssey levels. I never played a Captain Toad game, but he just seems like such a fun character. So I hope that he's included in the new Super Smash Brothers, because I think it'll be really cool to see him there. You can get Captain Toad. You can get Captain Toad Treasure Tracker July 13th. So let's scroll down to, I think, the coolest, the best, the most awesome, one of the coolest ways to promote a game during this direct. And you know what's so funny? I know they did a thing at the end with Splatoon 2, or with Splatoon characters, and with Super Smash Brothers, but I think this might have beat it, despite how awesome it was. Having this Undertale promotional video with characters from Undertale. And I personally have played very little Undertale. Undertale Let's Play videos are coming to the channel. Not telling you how and where, but they are coming to the channel in the near future. Myself and Tara may be playing it in the near future. And because Tara is a huge fan of Undertale, so a lot of people have talked to me about it, but she really got me into it. And I haven't actually beaten it, but oh my god, Undertale is just so... It looks so beautiful, and it's just such an interesting game. And so looking to the fact that Undertale is coming to Switch, eventually, I can say that I will also be getting a Switch eventually, just because of Undertale. I don't know if it's just going to be a standard port, or maybe they'll add something new to it. I know that the creator of Undertale likes to add kooky things, into the game, little like tiny Easter eggs and stuff. I know that there was one part of the game where you had to go into the game and get like there was some interesting stuff with the game's files that you had to kind of get into to kind of help you. I don't know if it was to beat a game or to get a secret part of the game or something like that. I don't know how that'll translate over to the Nintendo Switch. I don't know if they'll be, adding some new stuff over to the Switch version. We don't know much yet other than this small promotional video, but I'm really, really hyped about it. Funnily enough, even more hyped than the next thing I want to talk about, Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy, right? Because, yes, look, my whole thing is this, right? I love Crash Bandicoot to death. Loved it ever since I was a kid. I've played, I can't say every single Crash Bandicoot game because once we got to the PS2, there were some games I really wasn't a fan of. Then we got into, Twin Sanity and stuff like that where I didn't hate it, but it wasn't the Crash that I grew up with. Again, old man, ranting at clouds. So, shaking fist. So, when I heard about the Insane Trilogy, I bugged, Satish Ram was going to buy it no matter what. Our neighborhood Let's Player podcaster, Satish Ram, was going to buy it no matter what. So he bought it, so I've been borrowing it for a while now. I've been playing it on the channel. I played it, we had a Merry Crashmas just this past Christmas. We had a Merry Crashmas. So I played the first 2 episodes of the of Crash Bandicoot 2 on the Insane Trilogy for the PS4. So, would I buy it for the Switch if I had a Switch? Well, technically, I haven't even bought this version of it on the PS4, so it wouldn't technically be double dipping for me to buy it on the Nintendo Switch. So, I think I would. But the thing is, I would really be interested in 2 things. Seeing how the controls work and how they differ from the obvious, old school, Sony PlayStation controller. And also wondering how the physics are going to work, right? Because seeing how different the physics were compared to the Crash 1 and 2 on the Insane Trilogy versus the original Crash 1 and 2, and hearing how that apparently they based the physics. I remember hearing this. Tell me if I'm wrong, guys. They based the physics on Crash 3 for all 3 games in the new trilogy. So, me bringing this up, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want to know, how different is it going to feel and play on the Switch. So that's really cool to me. It's coming out July 10th for any of you guys that are interested. Obviously don't have a Switch, but if I did, I think I would want to pick one up. Although I would feel weird picking it up for, $60. I know that, the company Activision needs to make some cash off this, but they obviously sold a lot of it on the PS4 and on the Xbox One. So I don't know how I would feel about paying full price on the Switch. But I still think it's, it's a really cool thing to bring to the Switch. Looking at the next thing here, Little Nightmares Complete Edition, which means that it will have all of the DLC. And so here's the thing, right? So it's coming to the Switch. I believe this was a game that was available on consoles as well as PC. I know that it's an indie title that I've seen some other YouTubers play. I'm pretty sure a small YouTuber, I say small, but has more subscribers than I do, Valpal, I think. Valpal, Valpal. She did a couple videos on this game. Very, interesting type of game. You can play as 2 different characters and go through their kind of like their nightmares, if you will. And apparently, for some odd reason, I don't have the listing for when it's going to be released. But I can tell you that, again, it's coming with all DLC. So that right there, I'm in love with, right? I'm in love with, hey, people saying, hey, it's a port, right? But you have that DLC in there. Great. I don't have to pay for that DLC. Also, apparently, you can actually, if you tap the Pac-Man amiibo figure while playing the game, you can get a Pacu mask, right? Or a Pac mask for the main character. So that's cool. A little sad that I don't have the release date here. I don't think it's already out. But if it is, then again, just tell me about it in the comments below, guys. Right here, we have, the next thing we have is South Park Fractured But Whole. So we can see that, this... not only with Doom, but again, even with South Park here, we can see that Nintendo isn't just looking to make this console a kids-only console. It's a kid-friendly console, and that's good, right? Nothing against making something kid-friendly, but it doesn't have to just be for kids. So that right there, I think, is really cool to have South Park, the South Park game on here. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of is that the DLC isn't being given away for free. Not saying that, Matt and Trey Parker or Comedy Central shouldn't be making money off this, or that the developers shouldn't be making, a certain amount of money off this. They totally should. But maybe for all I know, it was a lot harder to port it over to the Switch than when they originally released it. But if I remember correctly, Fractured But Whole is not the newest game for South Park. If it is, then never mind. This is fine. But I thought Fractured But Whole was the first South Park, bigger, South Park game released on the PS3. Maybe I'm wrong. So maybe this is the first one. And if so, then okay. Right, I get it. I get that why it's that much. But or rather the DLC, you have to pay for it. But if it isn't, and this is the first one that they released a while ago, then I don't know. I mean, I get it. I do get it. It's just, if you already bought the game, again, why would you want to buy it again, right? Unless there's some interesting, maybe there's some lines related to the fact that they're on the Switch, which I think would be really cool. But if there isn't anything inherently, I guess, Switch-like, or I don't know, what Switch exclusive, that's a good word, Switch exclusive about it, then, I mean, it's not going to be a South Park amiibo. We're not going to have a Cartman amiibo. That would be amazing, though. Just a Cartman amiibo, just every time you tap it. In any game, you just hear respect my authority. But I don't think we're not going to have that, obviously. So, not really interested. But if you are, available April 24th. So that's cool. Moving on, we're going to have Hyrule Warriors coming out as well. It's called the Definitive Edition. I don't know what's so definitive about it. That might just be Nintendo's way of saying if there was any, I think there might have been some DLC for it or some, some other patches or something that maybe that's just their way of saying this will be the good one, guys, with all the stuff on it. So that's cool too. We know that definitively it'll be out on May 18th. And again, like I said earlier, for some of you guys that are like, oh, but I already got it for the Wii U. Yeah, well, good, then play it on the Wii U, right? But and heck, maybe if you got it for the Wii U, you sold it, and your Wii U. So if you did that, then this is a reason why you'd maybe want to buy it again, or you don't, and that's cool too. So other than that, moving on to ARMS, apparently that game is coming out, or rather, they're going to have an online open. Seems like the game's already out. They're going to have an online open for it, and US and Canada. It'll be March, wow, why did I do that? I wrote March Thirst, like 3ST, wow. I assume it's March 3rd, and it is a 3-day global test punch. So again, another great way for Nintendo to release this game, right? Another great way for them to do it and trying to get people interested by essentially just giving it away for free. Right. Again, it's not like they're going to be able to. I assume they'd be, they would have the protocol in place not to just give away a free, the whole game for free. Right. I don't really know about people hacking or modifying their Switch this early in the Switch's lifespan. So it's not like someone can just take the game, from playing it online. Right. They're just getting access to the servers. So I think it's really cool to have this really great way to get people involved and interested in ARMS. And yeah, so for any of you guys, again, March Thirst, 3-day global test punch. So totally check that out if that interests you. And almost finally, we have Splatoon 2 apparently getting a 3.0 update. Very interesting that Nintendo is calling these updates. And they're getting the Octo expansion, and also we're getting something called Rank X, which is higher than S+, which I assume, a lot of maybe hardcore players have, really risen through the ranks, maybe not rather easily, but have still risen through the ranks, and they've played so much, they're kind of sitting back, especially with, Nintendo Switch not having that many games early on, that, they've kind of rise through the ranks, and they're sitting here, and they're like, all right, we're at S+, can we have something else, guys? And so it seems like you guys are getting Rank X, which just sounds like Chemical X, which is kind of funny when you're shooting all that paint around. And of course you have the Octo expansion, which it is paid DLC, but it looks really cool. Reminds me, I feel like they were going to the trains of New York. I was just like, well, I feel like I was being personally attacked just looking at all the different people. I was like, stop, just who photographed me? But that was really cool, a lot of fun. And, again, I'm not... nothing against Splatoon. I think I would play it if I had a Switch, but I don't know if I'd buy it. It seems like a fun game, but I don't know if I would get lost in it. It seems like something that I can have a lot of fun with, especially with friends if they came over. But, it's for me at least, it's very hard to get people to come over unless it's to film. And even then, everyone's always so, how it is. Everyone knows how it is when you get, to a certain age, everyone's busy. So, I feel like it's more of a, me personally, it looks like more of a party title. Again, tell me if I'm wrong. It looks more like a party title, and like I say, I don't have friends. Okay, I just, it's very hard to get people over. So, to kind of do that, and I don't know how easy it would be to set up a room to try to get people that I know just to join it. But that's just my personal opinion, though, on why I don't know how I'd feel about buying the game, but. The DLC itself, though, looks really cool. So I'm actually somewhat hyped for the Octo expansion, despite the fact that I don't own the game. But still, looks fun. Looks like a lot of fun. And it was a very, and I was wondering why they saved it for last. I know Splatoon 2, I think, has sold the most copies a game has ever sold, I think, in recent memory or something like that in Japan. I'll link to that video below. Pat and Ian, we're also talking about that on the CU podcast. So, I heard about that and I was like, wow, that's a lot of copies for a game. I forgot how many it sold. Like, it was just Japan, but still, they sold a lot of copies in Japan. So obviously, there's a reason why you'd save this for last, assumingly, right? Like, this is the big thing, especially in the US. A lot of people love Splatoon, young and old. So, a lot of fun. But when they transitioned into, by the way, Super Smash Bros. 2018, so it is going to be released. Earlier, I felt like for some odd reason I was haphazard. I was like, 2018, 2019? No, it's going to be released in 2018. So, look, I was excited about Splatoon 2 or Splatoon characters transitioning into Super Smash Brothers because, again, at first I was like, oh, why are we doing this, right? Like, why are we saving this for what seemingly was last? And what was the big reveal going to be? Because it wasn't going to be Platoon and Splatoon. Oh god, that would be terrible. Platoon and Pokemon. But it wasn't going to be Splatoon and Pokemon. So what were we going to get here? Well, the second I saw the fire in her eyes, and I saw a bunch of different characters from Super Smash Brothers. Woo, okay. As we're wrapping this thing up, I'm just going to say that I'm excited. I don't even have a Switch. I don't know people who have Switches, other than Joey, who I'm going to mug. But I don't know people who have Switches. But I'm excited, right? I'm super duper excited. It says 2018 though, so I do think, I assume this would be November, maybe December, but for the holiday season, because the reason why I'm a little confused about 2018 is because I know we've pretty much technically just started 2018, but it still feels like it's very soon, right? So I don't know if this is just going to be a port, and I use the word port loosely, a port of the one that came out on the Wii U and the 3DS version, but with some new characters, just to make us feel satisfied. I don't know what story mode was like on the Wii U version, so I guess we're just going to have to find out, and, when we see some new stuff about it in the near future, we're going to have to find out what that is all about. So anyway, I just want to thank you all so much for listening in to another Matt Rants, as always. I kind of went down the list of this Nintendo Direct. Before we wrap it up, I want to tell you what I'm the most hyped about. I think what I'm the most hyped about, I want to say it's Super Smash Bros. 2018, but I think that one's too easy, so let's toss it aside. And, even Undertale is a bit too easy. Because to be fair, I haven't even played enough of that, so let's toss that aside too. I think what I'm the most hyped about might actually be, wow, like, is this going to be really, I think it might be Detective Pikachu. You know what, we'll do it this way. We will do it this way. For the 3DS, the one that I'm the most hyped about, it's, might be Dylan's Dead Heat Ranger Rambo. Round Up, Hootenanny. Yeah, Dylan's Dead Heat Hootenanny. I think I might be the most hyped about that. Because, there are some... Because I think it's really hard for me to say I'm hyped for a port. So that one I might be the most hyped about. If not Detective Pikachu. And then going through the Switch. Oh, man, it's really... I'm doing this on the spot, guys. That's why it's really so hard for me to pick one that makes me the most hyped. Is it really Mario Tennis? God, I feel like you guys are going to hate me if I say Mario Tennis. And again, Undertale is also a port, so I don't know if it should count. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for Mario Tennis, guys, for the Switch. It's the one I'm the most hyped for. And honestly, it seems like a lot of fun. I think that's what it is. Mario Tennis seems like a lot of fun. And although, of course, again, if the story mode doesn't really... or if there aren't enough modes that, don't if I have to go online, then to have fun, then I feel like I wouldn't really enjoy it. But if there's enough single player stuff, then I might enjoy it. I actually might enjoy it. So I just want to say again, thank you all so much for listening in. As always, if you're watching this through our Those Guys Play YouTube channel, then please remember to like and subscribe. If for some odd reason it's on our Those Guys on the Radio YouTube channel as well, you can also like and subscribe there as well. Also, by the way, if you're watching this or listening to this rather through our Blog Talk Radio account, then please, follow us through there as well, blogtalkradio.com/Those Guys on the Radio. And also you can be listening to this through our iTunes as well by searching up Those Guys on iTunes and finding all of our older stuff listed there as well. And also, you can also check out our Teacher Productions YouTube channel. And if you check out that channel, you can find little fun skits and stuff like that. Really fun, kind of, I'll say dumb in a good way stuff. There's a lot of fun stuff you can find there. And also you can check out our Patreon. So if you go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/TG Productions, you can actually either give to our lowest tier, which is just $1. Basically, is a nice way to say, hey, I want to tip you guys. Thank you so much for what you do. Or depending on what tier you give to, you could actually become part of the program, part of the show, part of any one of the things that we do. So depending on what you donate to or what you give to, you can either basically say, hey, I want to be a sponsor. And you can basically have us give you shout outs at the end of different videos or different Let's Plays or different podcasts, stuff like that, depending on what you want to choose us to give you, what you want to sponsor. It could be a specific show. So it could be like, you want to sponsor Those Guys Play seasons. And then we'll give you shout outs at the end of every episode of every season. Also, another thing as well is depending on what tier you give to, you can actually have a kind of a discussion with us on what we should do podcasts about or what we should do Let's Plays about. So you can basically say, hey, I want you and Tristan Walter or you and Anthony Toto or even Tristan Walter and Anthony Toto to play X game, right? Whatever game it is, you want us to play that game or review that game. Or, you can even have us do a top 5 list of what our favorite, Dragon Ball Z games is or something like that. Or when it comes to podcasts, it doesn't have to be a review like we usually do. It could be something like a top 5 list of, different Bleach episodes, right? Or top 5 list of different anime that we really enjoy. Or it could end up being something along the lines of, you look to our Keikaku Corner show where we do a weekly anime or weekly news show, where weekly news podcast, really, where we just kind of talk about, what new anime news, video game news, manga news, stuff like that, tokusatsu news as well. You could actually kind of curate what we talk about as well. So you can say, hey, we would like you guys to talk about this and this and this. And again, depending on what tier you give to, we can make that happen. So again, that's TG Productions, patreon.com/TG Productions, or you can buy merchandise from us, like some really cool shirts and some other cool stuff like old video games and stuff like that through either our main website, which is tgproduction.net/merchandise, or over at our eBay, which is ebay.com/USR/Those Guys Radio. And of course, you can follow everything we do, and I mean everything we do, through our Facebook account, which is facebook.com/Those Guys on the Radio, or our Twitter, which is @ThoseGuysRadio. All right, guys, again, thank you all so much. Love you guys. Thank you for letting me be me. And this was a really fun, long rant. Tell me what you guys think about all the different stuff we heard about this Nintendo Direct in the comments below. All right, guys, so see ya.